Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer, Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. He's Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G,
MRG_live is now live. Streaming just chatting. MR.G live classroom. Today's date. Hashtag North Carolina.
Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer, Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. He's Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer, Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, 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 G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. 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 G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. He's Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. G, 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 G.
Say what now? Take it on now.
Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. He's Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer.
You singing?
Mr. G, 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 Mr. G.
Big blocks. Set. Sub Mr. G.
Hey, big block.
MRSG Mermaid. Said. Hey there, big block. Smiley face. Big blocks. Said. Sub Mrs. J.
IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G.
Scooby Joe 210. Said. Have fun, DRG.
Americana writer, gonzo education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G.
Scooby Doo says so much.
Teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. G. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 G. Mr. 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 G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. He's Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G. He's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr.
Hi, I'm Mr. G. Welcome to my class.
Have you spoke about Texas? Cool, you graduated from UT.
I like this costume. I'm gonna leave it on.
Hey Google. Jade Mermaid said, "Aloha, Mr. G."
Aloha, Mrs. J. And that's the song of Hawaii, but unfortunately we cannot play it for copyright reasons. Which reminds me, shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, then you're not watching this live, but you might be watching the replay, and that's nice.
Said, you can send Mr. G, Moses, and Keanu packages to 170 Nuuanu Avenue, Po Box 37305, Honolulu, Hawaii 96823.
How is everybody?
MRS Jade Mermaid said,
Whoa.
cheer, one 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 cheer.
Woo! Alright, thank you, Mrs. J. Woo! Getting the class started off great here. Alright, Mrs. J. Thank you very much.
Ding ding LOL.
You know, Mrs. J, your presence was missed yesterday, and I actually didn't ring the bell at all during yesterday's class. We had a good class about, South Carolina. Today we're going to be learning about North Carolina. I'll put a little graphic up there.
Kubija 210 said, cheer, one cheer, one cheer.
Oh wow, look at that. Woo! Cody, alright. Cody with Stono. Woo, woo, woo.
Cheer, one cheer, one.
Thank you very much.
MRS Jade Mermaid said, I'm glad this was a good class.
Well, every class is a good class. I put the effort into this to make sure we have a good class.
MRS Jade Mermaid said, it was Scooby.
Whoa, another noise.
210 cheer, one cheer, one cheer.
Wow, 200. That's a lot. That's 200. Yeah, you can get a soda. You can get a lot of soda pops. North Carolina is the place for sodas. And you know, Mr. G, I love sodas. That doesn't mean I'm ever going to go to North Carolina, but,
Said, cheer, one 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 cheer.
All right, more. Skibby 2.
Jake Mermaid.
Donation train.
Show love one, show love one, show love one, show love one.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Mrs. J. Show love one. Show love one. Thank you very much, guys.
Show love one, show love one.
You guys are too kind.
Nipet
Awesome.
said, help Mr. G with the donation.
I love Twitch. I'm a Twitch. Wait, I won't say it. But you know it rhymes with Twitch and it starts with a B. Oh wow, alright. Woo! Yeah, Mrs. J with the cheer. Cheer one. Woo-hoo. Alright, yeah. Woo! Yeah, party one. Woo! We're having a North Carolina party today, guys. Alright. Yeah.
The new merch is here.
That makes me want to pour me a glass of cheer wine soda poppers. Yeah, alright. No, not right now. We don't even know what that is yet. Yeah, we're going to learn about it, though. It's going to be a great class today. Yay! Thank you so much for the donations. Welcome to North Carolina. Today is actually National North Carolina Day, if you weren't aware. And once again, I did sweep and mop a little bit on the floor. The classroom has been alternating as a bedroom and also a cat hospital as Moses recovers from her injury. So I appreciate all the donations and everything. So while the floor dries a little bit, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the great state of North Carolina. Now, North Carolina, it's one of the most populous states in the United States. That's either 9th or 10th in population. There's more than 10 million people there. And that goes to show yesterday's state, South Carolina, only had 5 million people. So its redheaded stepbrother from down south, no offense to any redheaded stepchildren, it has twice as many people as its neighbor, South Carolina. And also, we start off, the capital of North Carolina is Raleigh, North Carolina, named after Sir Winston Raleigh, and that's actually one of the fastest growing places in the United States. If you look at how I decorated the board today, there are 4 major universities on the board. If you've come to this class, this live stream on Twitch recently or any time over the states, what I like to do is I like to take cutouts of the top universities in each state and put them on the board. So the floor is just about dry. I think I can go ahead and walk on it. So as you can see on the board, I have 4 of the nation's top universities. And guess what? They're all in the Raleigh metropolitan area. In that area, there's other cities in that area. Each of these have little tiny college towns. But all these 4 universities are all in the same vicinity of one another. And that's really interesting. So Raleigh is one of the most fastest growing parts of the United States. It's known as the Research Triangle because of the 3 big cities in that area. Once again, Raleigh is the capital. It's one of the oldest cities in the United States. It was spared during the Civil War. And these 4 universities, I'll go over them right now. First, of course, we have the most recognizable is North Carolina. Duke is a private university. Wake Forest, one of my favorite basketball players, Tim Duncan, went to school there. And North Carolina State. All 4 schools are in the Raleigh area. Okay, moving on. The largest city in North Carolina and the state is Charlotte. The population is only 850,000. So its largest city doesn't even have 1 million people. But, like I said, it's the 9th most populous state. That's because it has a lot of medium-sized cities. Fayetteville, population 200,000. Asheville, about 100,000. Wilmington, that's where Michael Jordan is from, has about 120,000. What is North Carolina known for? They have the first English colony of Roanoke was in that area. And First in Flight is on their license plate. I'll show you the license plate. I'll put it in the corner there. First in Flight, and that's because the Wright brothers were the first human beings to achieve flight at Kitty Hawk. And there's a redemption of the plane that they used there. What else? What do you guys think of when you think of North Carolina? quiet class today. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Give the video a thumbs up.
MRSG Mermaid said, not much honestly.
Okay. Alright, well, today's class it's already better than yesterday's class because Mrs. J is here. Okay, so some interesting things about North Carolina that you may not know.
Mermaid
Pepsi was invented in North Carolina.
But I'm about to learn new things.
Exactly. She knows. Mrs. J knows. Alright, so, you know I like soda papas. One interesting thing about North Carolina, it's where Pepsi was invented in 1893. It was actually made as an acid to help digestion.
Interesting. Timmy went to school there knowing he was from the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice, and I did think about that. Normally, you know, I don't associate Wake Forest with Duke in North Carolina. You know, Duke and North Carolina, they have the big rivalry, and then there's North Carolina State. Normally, you don't associate Wake Forest with them, but academics were important to Tim Duncan. So I do know that he chose Wake Forest, and partially because of their academic program and whatever his chosen field was. All right, on the screen is my website. If you're wondering about the person giving the instruction here, my resume is available on the screen right there, and Mrs. J will be so kind to put a link in the chat as well. All right, and if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description. GXNetwork.live.
Visit Mr. G's website. HTTP.
All right, some other things that North Carolina is known for. I said they're known for sodas. Pepsi was invented there, and there's also something called cherry wine, which is a cherry-flavored cola, which unfortunately I cannot say that I have had, despite being the soda connoisseur that I am. I have not had this particular soda. It's supposed to have twice as much soda, twice as much sugar as the average soda, and it's the oldest soda family-owned business in the United States, starting sale in 1907. So I really want to try this cherry wine soda. I looked on Amazon, and it's pretty expensive. It was about $2.50 per bottle or can. So I might order, you know, a 6-pack for about $20. But maybe it is, you know, as good as it sounds. Something else that North Carolina is known for is fried green tomatoes. Also palmetto cheese. That's a particular mix of cheese. I like cheese and dairy a lot, so that's something that I like. And I like fried green tomatoes. I worked on a tomato farm in northern New Mexico where we grow all kinds of tomatoes. Red tomatoes, green tomatoes, purple tomatoes, yellow tomatoes. Tomatoes you can eat like an orange, tiny cherry tomatoes, big ripe tomatoes that you make in a stew. All sorts of tomatoes. And I'm growing tomatoes now, so I was tomato crazy. But they were all heirloom tomatoes. Thank you. Woo. All right. So all the heirloom tomatoes that I grew in New Mexico, one thing when we sold these tomatoes on the farmers markets in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Las Vegas, New Mexico, and Rivera, New Mexico, at those 3 different farmers markets, one thing everybody always asked for is fried green tomatoes, and those would be unripened tomatoes when they're still green. And so during harvest, you know, because we harvested a lot of tomatoes, and we, you know, bagged tomatoes and sold tomatoes, and it was a pretty big tomato enterprise. If you know something about me, I enjoy farming and growing fruits and vegetables. That's one of the main reasons. No, we're live right now. Aloha from Hawaii. Right now, it is a little after noon in Hawaii. Yeah, it's like 12:15 from Honolulu, Hawaii, live. So one of the reasons that I've lived in Hawaii so long is because I enjoy growing fruits and vegetables. Go ahead and time out whoever's saying those toxic lines. Alright, so one reason is I like to grow fruits and vegetables. And when I was the manager of a farm in northern New Mexico, the farmer, when we were at the farmers markets, everybody would request green tomatoes, and that's because they wanted to make fried green tomatoes.
Stream elements.
Fried green tomatoes are unripened tomatoes that are breaded in cornmeal or breadcrumbs, and then they're fried. And then you can have them, they're usually as a side dish. In North Carolina is known for their fried green tomatoes served with palmetto cheese. So we'll show some pictures of those. And they look magnificent, these tomatoes.
Like tomatillos.
Yes, similar, Cody, but tomatillos grow. We grew tomatillos on this tomato farm as well. But tomatillos were the odd man out. All the other tomatoes, the red tomatoes, the yellow tomatoes, the purple tomatoes, those were all tomatoes. A tomatillo, it's not a tomato, it's a pepper. When you're cooking with a tomatillo, when you're making green sauce, you stew the tomatillo. It's totally different from a tomato. So I do know a lot about growing tomatoes, and I do know a lot about growing tomatillos as well. So that's one thing that interested me a lot about the cuisine of North Carolina, and that is the fried green tomatoes. That's something that I plan on making as soon as I have some tomatoes growing in my own vegetable garden. All right. Continuing, I mentioned the lost colony of Roanoke. That colony was from 1587, and that was the first English colony. The Spanish and French had explored the area that's known as North Carolina 100 years earlier, but they didn't establish any settlements. So the first actual colony, the first actual settlement, was established by the English in 1587. Which is the lost colony of Roanoke. It's the mysterious, unsolved mystery, what happened to the colonists of Roanoke. We'll get into that once we start the lecture. But what I can say is that the only thing that was left from the colony of 300, 400 men, women, and children. It was like 170 men, women, and children. Out of those, but still a large number, the only thing that was left was the carving on a tree for the letters Croatan, Croatan, whatever that means, and then there was another word written on a barn, I believe, the word crow, CROW. So, some legend has it that an ancient mythical creature that travels through time, known as the Croatan, rode in and flew in there on a gigantic, dinosaur-sized crow and ate all 170 colonists. That's what the legend says, but you never really know. Okay. Continuing.
Scary.
Yes, that's the only ghost story for today. If you're wondering how these classes work, I will talk about a state for a minute
Mr.G, Moses,
or two, and then we'll start a slideshow about famous foods from that state, famous people from that state, and famous landmarks in that state. So if you're writing a paper about this state, if you want to do research about this state of North Carolina, you're in the right spot, and I encourage you to watch the whole video. All right, like I said, North Carolina doesn't have any huge cities. Charlotte is the 17th biggest city in the United States. It doesn't have 1 million people. It has 850,000 people. So, but it is in the top 20 as far as population goes. North Carolina is the 9th populous state. And it's the 28th largest state. So it's not a huge state, but it does have a really high population. It's a border state. It's a southern state, but it borders Virginia, and it's got a coastline, the Atlantic Ocean, and then it also borders South Carolina and Georgia to the south and Tennessee to the west. It has 15 electoral votes, which is more than any state I think we've covered so far. except for maybe Illinois. Trump won. I shouldn't say that, I guess. But he received the electoral votes for North Carolina, the 15 electoral votes. They are a swing state. They were strongly Republican for a very long time, up until recently. Like I said, the area around Raleigh is one of the fastest growing areas in the United States, and it's changing the demographics of the area of North Carolina. Unlike its southern state, South Carolina, they voted for a Republican. They haven't voted for a Democrat since Jimmy Carter, and that's because Jimmy Carter was from Georgia, a southern state. So they're not as Republican as their southern neighbor. What else can I tell you? I've never been to North Carolina. I've never been to any of these states east of the Mississippi River. Blackbeard was killed off an island in North Carolina. We'll go over that a little bit. One of the great things that I noticed in researching North Carolina is its state motto, and that is esse quam videri, and that's Latin for to be rather than seem. Like, follow what I do, not what I say, right? Esse quam videri. Now that's very important. If you're going to take anything from this lesson today, I want you to take that. Hey, kitty. All right. Esse, E-S-S-E, quam, Q-U-A-M, videri, V-I-D-E-R-I. Esse quam videri. I'll move so you guys can see. Esse quam videri. Did I put an I at the end? And that means to be rather than to seem. So don't listen to what any time in life when somebody tells you this or that. Follow their actions, not their words, because people are fucking bullshit, and they have bullshit coming out their ears and their eyes. So don't ever believe what somebody tells you. Just believe in what you see. And when you see somebody like me, you get the real deal. I put a lot of energy and a lot of effort into this, and I'm not bullshitting. A lot of other broadcasters, they'll have view bots, they'll have fake donations, they'll do anything they can. It's all a game to try to get your money. I'm not doing that. I'm offering a service. When you watch me, when you come to class here, you will not regret it. You will not waste time like you would watching other broadcasters.
MRSG Mermaid said, show love one, 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 show love one.
Thank you. All right.
One, show love one, show love one.
Some more things about North Carolina. I didn't mention tobacco. I don't smoke. I don't like
Big
smoking.
blocks.
But they're number one in tobacco in the United States. Hey.
Time well spent. Nipid.
Thank you, Big Blocks.
Sick.
Big Blocks. All right. Welcome, Big Blocks. Aloha. Oops.
https://streamelements.com/mrg_live/tip.
All right. Thank you very much. So, continuing with North Carolina. They're number one in tobacco. Them and Virginia are about tied. Sometimes Virginia's number one. Sometimes North Carolina's number one. They still farm tobacco regularly. And a lot of people do smoke in North Carolina and tomorrow state, Friday state, Virginia. So that's what I can tell you. Also, there's a lot of buried treasure along the outer banks. There's islands along the coast of South Carolina. There's islands on the coast in North Carolina, and there's islands on the coast of Virginia. I mentioned earlier how Blackbeard was killed off of an island in North Carolina. South Carolina actually has an island that has thousands of macaw monkeys. Yes, true story. And Maryland actually has an island that has thousands of ponies And the story there is these miniature ponies. Actually, they're not even ponies, because you know a pony looks very distinctive from a horse, right? These are actually miniature horses that they call ponies. They're actually horses, but they're just tiny horses. And they're inhabited off in an island in the Atlantic Ocean.
Do you know what cigarettes contain North Carolina tobacco? I only hear from other countries like maybe Turkey.
Oh, really? Huh. Well, yeah, that's interesting. But back to ponies, or little tiny horses. So these tiny horses they're inhabited off an island in Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, the Atlantic seaboard, the southern Atlantic seaboard that we've been learning about this week and last week. But there's an island of horses, and the way that they got there is they've been there for hundreds of years, since even before English colonies settled there. And the legend is they came from a Spanish ship that sunk in the area, and these horses managed, because horses can swim, they managed to make their way to this island where they started a colony of horses. And a lot of times, there was only a few of them, so there must have been some inbreeding. And a lot of times with inbreeding, as far as Darwinism goes, there's no diversity of species, if you will, or if you're on an island, and there are limited horses and limited mating choices. So you do get smaller varieties, and you get more handicaps. You see that in Hawaii a lot. Hawaii, being further away from any major landmass and being so isolated of anywhere else in the world, but also being inhabited for 1,000 years or longer than that. There have been a lot of what's a politically correct way to say it? There's a lot of lack of diversity of species and mating there. That before travel and before the missionaries got to Hawaii. The people here were so isolated that there wasn't a diversity of species, and so that's why in Hawaii you get a lot of handicaps and stuff like that. But going back on to North Carolina, and that's just the southern seaboard. I mean, the seaboard there is littered with islands, interesting islands, and each island has a story. Roanoke is an island. Wow, you hear that? That's a huge ship that you hear. Can you believe that? Okay, and then Blackbeard, the famous pirate. We'll go over some slides of him. He was killed on an island off of North Carolina. The Outer Banks, that's where that ship of horses sunk. That's what that's called. It's called the Graveyard of the Atlantic. There's supposed to be gold galore. So I remember Jimmy used to come to class a lot. Him and Nessa, wherever you guys are at, I hope you guys are well. And when they used to come to class, we would talk about buried treasure. And if you're looking for buried treasure in the United States, the Outer Banks off of the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina is where you can find a lot of buried treasure, because it's rumored that up to 5,000 ships have sunk in that area.
Interesting.
And also a lot of pirate ships have sunk in that area too. So, we'll go ahead and start with the
MRSG Mermaid
slideshow here. This is the flag of North Carolina.
Hey there, Nico.
Hey, Nico. This is the flag of North Carolina. But we'll go ahead and we'll start with the flag of North Carolina, and then we'll go to the usual stuff here. Hey, Google. Never mind. All right, so the flag of North Carolina, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Sup, Nico.
This flag of North Carolina, it pays homage to, it originally paid homage to the Civil War. This flag was created at the start of the Civil War. South Carolina was the first state to secede from the United States. However, North Carolina was the 10th state to secede. But they did provide more troops, more Confederate troops, than any other state in the South. Something like 150,000 Confederate troops were actually from North Carolina, more than any other state. And they have changed the dates on there. Previously, the dates that were written in the yellow ribbon were dates commemorating Civil War anniversaries. Within the last few years, they have changed that.
Said. Hello MRSG Big Block, good to see you GX.
Up next we have the state flower of North Carolina is the flowering dogwood. Very pretty flower, white on the outside, red on the inside. Kind of like my last girlfriend. Just kidding. Alright, up next we have, what the fuck kind of joke was that? The state bird
GX
of North Carolina is the cardinal. Nice bird. Pretty song, cardinal. Alright, up next, overhaul, let's just go over some different things. I mentioned the capital of North Carolina is Raleigh, North Carolina. It's one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. It's known as the Research Triangle. North Carolina is known as the Tar Heel State, and North Carolina University are the Tar Heels. Reason for this is because they actually used to sell a lot of tar, which was excavated from all the many pine trees that are located in North Carolina. North Carolina is a very old state, so back in the 1700s, before a lot of written records, before the United States was even a country, a lot of pine was excavated from, a lot of tar was excavated from the pine trees in North Carolina. Come on and rise up,
Mr.G with
raise
the
it like a
donation
helicopter. Okay, continuing on. Some interesting facts about North Carolina. North Carolina was ratified as a state on November 21st, 1789. North Carolina, come on and rise up. Take your shirt off. Raise it around your head like a helicopter. Okay, continuing on after we raise our shirt like a helicopter. There are 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. The total land area is 48,618. North Carolina is the 9th largest U.S. state by population. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is the oldest state university in the United States. Krispy Kreme donut, as well as Pepsi Cola, originated in the state of North Carolina. The motto of North Carolina is Esse quam videre, or, in English, to be rather than to seem. Morehead City is home to the famous North Carolina Seafood Festival, held the first weekend in October every year. Esse quam videre. Okay, continuing on. One more fun facts page, and then we'll carry on to the foods. So, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is, like we said, the oldest state university in the United States. It's also one of the top public schools in the United States, known as a public Ivy school, as well as this university that Mr.G attended and graduated from, the University of Texas in Austin. Both the University of Texas in Austin and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill are both known as public Ivy League schools, which means they are Ivy League quality education at a public university price. Continuing on. Whitewater Falls in Transylvania County is the highest waterfall in the eastern United States. Havelock is home to the Marine base Cherry Point. It's the largest Air Force base in the Marines. The first English colony, of course, is Roanoke Island. Walter Raleigh founded it. The colony mysteriously vanished with no trace except for the word Croatan scrawled on a nearby tree. I told you about the time traveler, right? The first English child born in America was born in Roanoke all the way back in 1587. Her name was Virginia Dare. The Lost Colony Outdoor Drama in Albemarle commemorates the birth of Virginia Dare. Scheduled to run just 1 year, it proved so successful that it has played the nearly 60 consecutive summers. Many people believe that North Carolina was the first state to declare independence from England with the Mecklenburg Declaration of 1775. That can be verified as well. That's accurate.
The new merch is here, PogChamp. Check it out. https://merch.streamelements.com/mrg_live.
Okay, some more fun facts. The Wright brothers, of course, we mentioned they were the first in flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Orville was the pilot, and Wilbur was on the wing. It was December 17th, 1903. They were actually from Ohio, but they did, achieve flight in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. They chose that area because it wasn't populated as well. 3 U.S. presidents are actually from the state of North Carolina, including James Polk and Andrew Jackson. I'm not sure who the third one is. Hey, I don't know everything, okay? I guess we could ask Google. I do know James Polk and Andrew Jackson are both from North Carolina. Hey, Google, what U.S. presidents are from North Carolina?
I found 3 on the website ncdcr.gov. North Carolina's presidents. Andrew Jackson was the 7th President of the United States and served from 1829 to 1837. President Jackson's mother gave birth in a remote area along the North Carolina-South Carolina border. James K. and Andrew Johnson, the 17th President of the United States, served from 1865 to 1869.
So Andrew Johnson and James K. Polk are both from North Carolina as well as Andrew Jackson. So some of the nation's top presidents are actually from North Carolina. Like I said, it is an original colony. I'll show you on the map here. And it is right south of Washington, D.C., really. Washington, D.C. is in the middle of Maryland and Virginia. So North Carolina is just one state over. All right, so we have a long list of foods and stuff like that. So I will go on. Before I do that, I will mention the colony of Roanoke. Oh, but we were talking about the Wright brothers, so here's an image of the Wright brothers here. All right, that's Orville and Wilbur. And we were talking about Roanoke, so I will show you a little bit about Roanoke. So when they returned, all the settlers had disappeared. They didn't find any remains. They didn't find a sign of a struggle. The only thing that they found was written on this tree, the words Croatan. They did also find on another tree the words crow. So I told you about the giant crow. That's my idea of what happened. But you never know. But what we do know, there are some facts that I gathered right here. What we do know, the facts are, the Roanoke was founded in 1587. It's financed by Sir Walter Raleigh. A year into the colony, John White had to return to England for supplies. He could not return for 3 years. When he returned, he found everybody had gone, and the only thing was Croatoad written on a tree. There's a lot of theories of what happened. Like I said, he still dreamed even though he failed in Roanoke, and the knowledge he gained, prompted England to persist. Eventually, they would, establish a colony in Plymouth, not far from there, which is, why we celebrate Thanksgiving. But the Lost Colony in Roanoke, it's a American mystery. It lasted for 5 years as the first colony in the United States, and everybody there just vanished and disappeared, and they were never seen from again. What do you think happened to them? I don't know. But we mentioned Blackbeard. maybe Blackbeard got him. Maybe Blackbeard got him and ate him. I don't know. There are some rumors that they were possibly killed by pirates. This is the famous Blackbeard that we have on the screen right here. He was actually killed in North Carolina by Robert Maynard. He terrorized the seven seas for generations, and then finally somebody had killed him off an island off of North Carolina. Alright, on a lighter note, one thing that North Carolina is known for is its barbecue.
Mr.G mermaid said, gnarly.
So, we're going to start with food here, and switching course from, Blackbeard, devouring the colonists of Roanoke, to North Carolina's infamous barbecue war. Now, they have two kinds of barbecue in the state of North Carolina. They have East barbecue, which is vinegar and pepper and a lighter sauce, I guess, and Western barbecue, which uses a tomato-based sauce and other things. They both use, shredded meat, shredded pork, brisket, but one of them uses a red-based tomato sauce, and the other one uses a white-based clear pepper vinegar sauce. And apparently, it's a war that's going on there between the two different places. And I looked this up. This is no doubt. One side of the state is tomato, and the other side is vinegar and pepper. And to get to more detail on that, as far as the ingredients, you guys know I like to cook.
Said, barbecue sauce war. Who would have thought?
So, Eastern style is vinegar and pepper sauce. As you can see, the North Carolina is known as the world's barbecue capital, especially Lexington, North Carolina. So there's the red, which is vinegar and tomato, and white, which is vinegar and pepper. And if you look on the map, it's very distinct, the location and the type of sauce. As you can see in the southern part, it's mainly the white vinegar sauce is the majority of the state.
Underscore scissor underscore bottom said, hello, Mr. G.
Hello, Scissor Bottom. Welcome to class. So right now we're learning about the different kinds of barbecue in the state of North Carolina. So the western part of the state, they use a light tomato in their barbecue, and the eastern part of the state uses vinegar and pepper. It's not that simple, as you can see on this map. If you go on the southern part of the state, they're more likely to use mustard. And also, if you keep going, there's a particular part that uses heavy tomato sauce.
MRSG mermaid said, so weird.
Yeah, so here's another picture. This is Lexington style barbecue. I guess it looks like the eastern version is the Lexington style. And yeah, it's a east first west thing. And so if you're ever in North Carolina, you want to make sure to try that. Also, we mentioned fried green tomatoes and palmetto cheese.
So people who put mustard on their barbecue Edwin underscore scissor underscore bottom said, looks yummy to me.
Yeah, it does. Also, these fried green tomatoes look delicious.
Said, you can send Mr. G.
Oh, but this is the East versus West in North Carolina barbecue.
Wanu Avenue, PO Box 37305, Honolulu, Hawaii 96823.
And here's a couple different famous restaurants. They're each holding their particular dish. She's got the Eastern on one side, and he's got the Western on the other. All right, so like I said,
underscore scissor underscore bottom.
We mentioned the fried green tomatoes.
It can be very good, Mrs. J. It's not easy, but it's possible.
And also we mentioned the cherry wine soda.
Said, I hate mustard though.
I used to not like mustard, but then I started to like it.
Said, Mrs. J, are you timing out? Oh, nups.
So, some Carolina-born products: Krispy Kreme, cherry
MRSG
wine.
Mermaid.
We mentioned
Set.
Pepsi is born.
Yes. Troll, and I don't want him to come back.
We mentioned Pepsi. Thanks, Mod. You're doing a great job. Big block, Mrs. J. You're doing awesome. So, born in the Carolinas is Pepsi, one of
Just
my
ban
favorite
him.
drinks. A very popular drink in Hawaii. Believe it or not, Pepsi is much more common in Hawaii than Coke is. It's much more popular here because they also have a bottling plant here.
Stream Elements.
I'm not saying it's
Set.
healthy, but not most
The
of the
new
food
merch
that
is
we
here,
learn
Prom
about
Chat.
here
Check
are
it out.
not healthy.
https://merch.streamelements.com/.
So also Krispy Kreme donuts,
MRSG
born in the Carolinas.
Said. Go ahead. Mr.G asked to have him timed out. You may have missed that. MRSG Mermaid. Said. Coke Pepsi LOL. Edwin
So-
_scissor_bottom. Said. I've seen cheer wine out in the wild, never tried it though, and I still regret it, haven't seen it anywhere since.
Yeah, I haven't seen it anywhere in Hawaii. I'm probably going to order some. I'll let you guys know.
MRSG Mermaid.
So peach cobbler
Said.
is very popular
I'd
in
like
North
to try
Carolina.
cherry wine.
Me too, guys. Like I said, you can get it on Amazon. It's pretty expensive. I will try to order some. I love cherry soda and I love cherry cola. So it's my dream come true. So peach cobbler, something that's very common in North Carolina. Something else. Well, we mentioned cherry wine, so let's just say this is a nice bottle. Like it said, it's a cola, cherry cola. And it dates back from 1917. It's family owned. So, it is pretty expensive to have it ordered. I ordered that soda from Brazil, and that was, about the same in price and whatnot. But yeah, that looks really great. Put a couple machinado cherries in there, and you're set. I mean, that looks delicious. I don't drink alcohol, but I wouldn't mind, putting a little drink in there too.
Said. Help Mr. G with a donation through Stream Elements.
Wash it down with some Lexington style barbecue.
And
top it off, with a Krispy Kreme donut.
_bottom. Said. Amazon prices on drinks and bananas.
Something else that's popular, sweet in North Carolina, is sweet potato pie. Sweet potatoes grow really well there.
Said. R asterisk.
This right here, we talked about Eastern style barbecue, so I'll show you a good picture. So this is Eastern style barbecue. They do have this in Hawaii a little bit. It's served with cabbage sometimes. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not what I'm used to as Texas barbecue.
MRSG Mermaid. Said. I like sweet potato pie.
We talked about fried green tomatoes. Here's another
You can send
picture of
Mr. G,
some fried green
Moses,
tomatoes.
and Keanu packages to 1170 New Wanu Avenue, Po Box 37305.
We mentioned this she crab soup in South Carolina. They have she crab soup, but in North Carolina they have she crab bisque. So, hey Google, what is she crab bisque?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. She crab soup is a rich soup, similar to bisque, made of milk or heavy cream, crab or fish stock, Atlantic blue crab meat, and crab roe, and a small amount of dry sherry added as it is plated.
Okay, so yeah, they do that. One thing that's really popular in North Carolina is biscuits with gravy flights. So gravy flights, as you can see in the picture, that means that they, add some things, 3 different kinds of gravy. Something else that's popular in North Carolina is Ruth's Pimento Spread.
Big blocks.
Hey Google, what is Ruth's Pimento Spread?
It says he's banned if he comes back, and I will ban him, Mrs. J.
On the website Walmart.com, they say, ingredients. Imitation salad cheese, water, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, starch, whey, casein and or caseinate, salt, natural flavor, sodium citrate, sodium phosphate, sorbic acid, as a preservative, artificial color, lactic acid, salad dressing, soybean oil, water, high fructose corn syrup, distilled vinegar.
All right, there's a lot of in there. Apparently, it's popular. Not really for me, I guess. The pimento spread there. Something else that I wouldn't really like. This is liver pudding. I actually, ate a lot of liver when I hung out with Britain. Some of you may remember old Bricksky. But yeah, it doesn't seem too enticing to me.
MRSG mermaid.
Let's see if Google knows about it.
Oh, no.
Hey Google, what is liver pudding?
According to Wikipedia, liver mush is a southern United States pork food product prepared using pig liver, parts of pig heads, cornmeal, and spices.
The new merch is here.
It is a regional cuisine that is common in western North Carolina and is typically consumed as a breakfast and lunch food. It has been suggested that liver mush derives from scrapple.
Big blocks. Said. Yuck.
Alright, something else that you'll find in North Carolina is fried catfish. Very popular deal. Something else, it's very tasty, mac and cheese. Everybody loves mac and cheese. And this is something that you'll get at a commonplace restaurant. It's a barbecue tray in North Carolina. Many restaurants, they'll just have a tray with many different fried barbecues. Excuse me. Something else that's common is, it's not common, but there's a place in North Carolina that's known to have some of the best cheeseburgers. And if you know anything about Mr.G, I love cheeseburgers. But Johnson's Drive-In was supposed to have some of the best cheeseburgers in the United States.
The thought of eating organs disturbs me to no end. Used to have a coworker who loved the stuff and would always bring it to work.
Hey Google, what is Johnson's Drive-In cheeseburgers?
Sorry, I don't have any information about that.
Hey Google, what is Johnson's Cheeseburgers in North Carolina?
Johnson's Drive-In is on 1520 East 11th Street in Siler City. It's 4,743 miles away and is rated 4.3 stars. A lot of places have changed their hours and services temporarily, so you might want to check with them.
So it's rated 4.3 stars, which is very good. And, like I said. All right, this is something else that's popular in North Carolina. It's R.O. Slaw. And it's an orange coleslaw that's very popular. They sell in the store and also at a restaurant called R.O. Slaw. Hey, Google, what is R.O. Slaw?
Here's a summary from the website roadfood.com. Velvet soft sliced pork pairs magnificently with R.O. slaw. This chunky, spicy slaw serves as the savory adhesive that keeps a minced barbecue sandwich together.
Alright, that looks pretty good. Something else that you'll find in North Carolina, as well in the Appalachian Mountains, is Brunswick Stew. This is something that I actually had before. If I'm not mistaken, it had a rabbit in it, and I ate it with some country folk at a homeless shanty town. But let's see if Google knows anything about it. Hey Google, what is Brunswick Stew?
Said, is that a grape?
No, I think it's an olive. Hey Google, what is Brunswick Stew?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia.
Hey Google, what is Brunswick Stew?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. Brunswick stew is a tomato-based stew generally involving local beans, vegetables, and originally small game meat such as squirrel or rabbit, though today often chicken. The origin of the stew is unknown.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, it's a something that a lot of poor people would eat. Pork chop sandwich, that's something that's really common in the South. Hey Google, what's a pork chop sandwich?
Here's a summary from the website foodnetwork.com. For the pork chops, heat a large cast iron skillet over medium-high heat. For the sandwiches, smear the cherry pepper mayonnaise onto each bottom bun, top with a pork chop, cheese, lettuce, tomato, pickles, more mayonnaise spread in the top bun.
Okay, nice. Hey Google, What is briskets and butts barbecue?
According to Wikipedia, brisket is a cut of meat from the breast or lower chest of beef or veal. The beef brisket is one of the 9 beef primal cuts, though the definition of the cut differs internationally. The brisket muscles include the superficial and deep pectorals.
Said. LOL. Edwin_scissor_bottom.
Interesting. So,
now that looks good.
that does look good. Barbecue does look good, right? I wish they had good barbecue in Hawaii, at least for ordering. They don't. So those are some common foods. I feel like the Mr. G song playing. Mr. G, Mr. G. Those are some foods that you'll find in North Carolina. And that barbecue does look good. Some of the things that interested me were the cherry wine soda. I definitely am going to order some of that. The palmetto cheese with the fried green tomatoes look really good.
Help Mr. G with the donation.
I actually I'm uploading a video on my second channel of me in my garden. So maybe Mrs. J can put a link to my second YouTube channel. If you're watching this right now, you're probably watching this on my main YouTube channel. So check out my second YouTube channel. I got so much out of my garden today. I got a huge salad of like 3 different types of lettuce and radishes. And then I mixed that with some cottage cheese. And it was really delicious salad, freshly grown. And so yeah, you want to check that out. It's on my second YouTube channel.
That's right.
And yeah, I'm growing all kinds of stuff. Peppers, corn. All kinds of stuff. I love farming and gardening, and I live in the city right now, and Honolulu is a very congested city. But I am interested in finding some land and purchasing some land in the country, and you know, I really enjoy farming. So yeah, you want to really check out that. So continuing on, we've done with foods, but let's talk about a few famous people that are from the state of North Carolina. We spoke about Andrew Jackson, also Andrew Johnson and Andrew Polk are 3 presidents from North Carolina. Somebody else that's from North Carolina, famous actress, she now lives in Austin, Texas. Sandra Bullock is from North Carolina. Somebody else that's from North Carolina, famous 2-time MVP, NBA champion Steph Curry is from North Carolina.
I used to live in North Carolina.
Oh, okay, interesting. Somebody else that's from North Carolina, you know, famous face, you may not know the name, Kendrick Kong Jung is from North Carolina. He is also a licensed physician too. I learned that in researching the class here. One last famous person from North Carolina is Matlock. Matlock is from North Carolina. That's not his real name. Hey Google, who was the actor who played Matlock?
There are 57 people in the cast of Matlock. Here are the first 3. Andy Griffith, Nancy Stafford, and Julie Salmars.
Oh, wow.
They had hands down the most fattening school lunch I've ever had.
I just realized that Matlock is Andy Griffith. They're the same person. Wow. I just realized that that's the guy from the Andy Griffith show, except he's old.
Said. Yeah.
Matlock and Andy Griffith are the same person. Mind blowing. Alright, whoa. That blows my mind. I could have never seen that before. Alright, anyways. Charlotte is the largest city in the state of North Carolina, population 850,000. They have the teams like the Charlotte Hornets or the Carolina Panthers football team. Like I said, it's a relatively small city, but a very populous state, 9th in population. I mentioned tobacco. Here are 2 tobacco farmers. This is what tobacco looks like. North Carolina is still right there with Virginia with one of the top tobacco producers. I don't see how they could grow tobacco. I mean, I mean, it's not doing anybody any good, really, in my opinion. Why not grow something else, like cannabis or tomatoes, like I was talking about earlier? We mentioned about the state motto of North Carolina. It's the best state motto. And like I said, I really think it's the most important part of today's lesson. Esse quam videri, to be rather than to seem to be. So, watch my words. Look at me. That's what I love this right here. It's like, look at me. Don't listen to all the liars. Don't listen to the haters talk shit. Don't listen to the people try to paint an inaccurate picture about me. Watch me. Esse quam videri, to be rather than to seem to be. I do this class Monday through Friday, every day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. If you come here, you will learn something. You will not waste an hour as you will watching somebody else. This is, it's very important. Esse quam videri, it's Latin, and also the number of people that talk smack about me, that talk lies about me, no, don't believe them. Come and see with your own eyes. If you want to see who I am, come to my class Monday through Friday, take a seat, see if you enjoy yourself. Don't believe what others say. Believe with your own eyes. And that goes for anything in life, not just Mr. G's class. Esse quam videri, that's the most important part of today's lesson. All right, a couple more things about North Carolina. We went over just about everything. The Wright brothers, it's the Tar Heel State. I told you why it's called this Tar Heel State. They have one of the nicest license plates. One of the top college basketball rivalries is Duke versus North Carolina.
New tattoo hype.
North Carolina, once again, is the Tar Heels. North Carolina University is the Tar Heels. So, a couple other products. We talked about Krispy Kreme, Pepsi, also this Pepper's Mount Olive kosher dills. Also, something that's very popular in the state of North Carolina. I couldn't do this presentation without mentioning authentic Moravian sugar cookies. These are very common cookies. They're very thin, very common, and usually in every cabinet in the great state of North Carolina. Of course, I mentioned Krispy Kreme and Cheerwine, also two products in North Carolina. The top industries in North Carolina is aerospace, flying. Also, trucking is a very number one industry, and they are number one in tobacco, unfortunately, as well. So, I think that is everything. I don't have some cherry wine soda. I'll show you the license plate here. Very nice license plate. You can always point out a North Carolina license plate. The state reptile is the painted turtle. Yes, they have 3 different kinds of turtles in the state of North Carolina, and the painted turtle is a very common amphibian that you'll see in North Carolina.
Cool turtle.
Also, this is the state emblem of North Carolina. This is where you'll see the quote, esse quam videri, to be rather than to seem to be.
He's one cool-looking turtle.
And this is a cornucopian. Once again, they have the oldest state constitution. They're the first state to secede from Great Britain. So that is something that they're very proud of. They have they have a very long, extended history. Once again, some of the top universities in the state of North Carolina, Wake Forest, that doesn't usually get the credit it deserves due to the other larger schools like Duke.
Why don't they feature that turtle more? Imagine that on the flag.
Yeah, not many people know about the turtle. He barely made it into today's lecture. Also, North Carolina, those are the top 3. North Carolina State, sorry, they don't get a slide either. Anything else? Do we have any questions? There is North Carolina Sand Dollar Island. Like I said, there's many different islands in North Carolina. Let's see if Google knows anything about Sand Dollar Island. Hey Google, what is North Carolina's Sand Dollar Island?
On the website MoreheadCityFerryService.com, they say, Sand Dollar Island is a very large sandbar that reveals itself during low tide. Do you want a little more context?
Said,
Yes.
help Mr. G with a donation through Stream Elements.
Sorry, I don't have any information about that, but I found something else. Do you want to know, does Stream Elements take a cut of donations?
What? Yes. Yes, I want to know that.
On the website StreamElements.com, they say, paid processing fees are the lowest in the industry. Stream Elements doesn't take a cut. Keep more of your tips.
Stream Elements.
So,
Said,
as you can see, Stream Elements does not take a cut, and that's the most important thing to learn about today's lesson.
Edwin_Scissor_bottom said, what is the ethnic and national heritage of North Carolina?
It was a very common slave state, just like its neighbor in the south. Like I said, they had the majority of soldiers in the Confederate Army, more than any other state. They supplied the most soldiers, over 150,000. They were big into slavery and cotton production, just like their neighbors in the south. They also did stuff for the Union, there's been a lot of rough stuff there. I don't know the exact ethnic makeup. If you're asking that, that's available on the Wikipedia page. I did mention it. Charlotte's the 17th largest city. It's the North Carolina's 9th largest in population, about 10.5 million people. So it's a huge state with lots of medium-sized cities. Raleigh, North Carolina is one of the fastest growing areas. There's other cities like Wilmington, where Michael Jordan's from, Asheville, Fayetteville. Each of these cities have about 100,000. Winston-Salem and Greensboro, that's the Asheville area, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed today's presentation. I'm going to order some cherry wine soda.
Mermaid.
And
thanks, Mr. G, for another great lesson and teaching.
You're welcome, Mrs. J.
Today.
Yeah, every day, you come here Monday through Friday. Every weekday, we have a great lesson plan.
Night, Mr. G and Mrs. J. Good class.
Thank you, Big Block.
_Scissor_bottom said, Amen. MRSJ Mermaid.
Thank you, everybody, for attending class. Tell your family and friends.
Mr. G, Kitties, Big Block, Nico, Edwin.
Thank you.
_Scissor_.
One more thing about North Carolina. They drink Coca-Cola and peanuts. It's big on sodas. Like I said, Pepsi was invented there. But they also drink Coke and peanuts. They put peanuts in their Coke. Literally, they do. In every bar in North Carolina. You can look it up. So, thanks again. I'm going to end the program with either the Mr. G song or the North Carolina State Anthem would probably be fitting. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson tomorrow, Friday, the last day of the week. We have Virginia, the great state of Virginia. So you want to attend tomorrow's lesson on Virginia. And also look for me doing surprise streams here and there. Thank you, everybody, for attending class.
According to the National Peanut Federation's site, the practice likely originated in the 1920s, when workers with dirty hands didn't want to touch their peanuts, so they just dumped them in their Coke.
Interesting. Interesting. Makes sense. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation on North Carolina. Once again, remember, it's very important to esse quam videre, to be rather than seem to be. And once again, Monday through Friday, tell all your friends and family, if they're looking for a teacher, this is where to go. You can't get this for free unless you know Mr. G. Alright, with that being said, here is the North Carolina State Anthem. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Edwin _Scissor_bottom said, I'm not disgusting for eating my peanuts this way, I'm being hygienic.
Carolina, Carolina, heaven's blessings attend her. While we live, we will cherish, protect, and defend her. Though the scorner may sneer at and witlings defame her, still our hearts swell with gladness whenever we name her. Hoorah, hoorah, the old North State
Stream
forever.
elements. Set. The new merch is here. Podchamp, check it out. https://merch.streamelements.com/mrg_live.
All those who love us, love the land that we live in, as happy a region as on this side of heaven.
Set. You can send Mr. G, Moses, and Keanu packages to 1117 Nuuanu Avenue, PO Box 37305, Honolulu, Hawaii 96823. Edwin_Scissor_Bottom. Set. This song kind of sounds like a drinking song.
Hoorah, hoorah, the old North State forever. Hoorah, hoorah, the good old North State. Hoorah, hoorah, the good old North State.
All right, everybody, have a great, wonderful day. Aloha. See you guys tomorrow.